All right, so this kind of topic came up with me and Mello the other day, and it reminds me a lot of the way that I see people. When I'm walking around in the grocery store, when I see people at work, when I see people walking down the side of the street, they may be together, but they're not anymore. In fact, I was watching a video of this new YouTuber I've been watching a lot. Her name is Kelly Young, 500,000 subscribers, and she does like outdoor videos and like camping and stuff like that. And I don't know how I found her, but I watch her almost every night. And there's one thing that really stands out about her is the shape of her feet and the dead look on her face. There's something about the emotional, the lack of emotion on her face. It's like her face doesn't change at all when she talks into the camera. And I thought that would change. Like I went back in her videos about 6 or 7 years, and I thought that would change if I went back and she was in a relationship, because obviously over the course of growing her channel over 7 years, obviously she's very wealthy by now, or at least I would say that someone with that much viewership and sponsorships would be quite well off. But the expression on her face never changes. It's sad, dark, deep brown eyes that lack any emotion whatsoever. And it made me wonder if all people are like that. I've been alone my whole life. So I've been I became a student of the human condition because I didn't understand what it was like to grow up and be human. I don't consider myself to be a very good human, right? When I consider myself reflected against humanity, I consider myself to be an alien. I don't have anything in common with regular people. But the only thing I have that I share with other people is the fact that I have to eat, sleep, and go to work. It's the standard relationship we all have with the plantation. But let's get into talking point number one, because this is going to be a shorter video because YouTube complained yesterday that I'm not uploading enough. In fact, last month, my viewership, my time watched, so views, time watched, and subscribers diminished. It dropped like a freaking stone last month. And it told me the reason for that is I normally post 75 videos a month, and I dropped down to 40 last month. Meaning posting once a day still isn't good enough for the YouTube algorithm. So with that said, let's get into this first talking point. Just because a relationship looks stable on the outside doesn't mean it's emotionally fulfilling. Many people stay in long-term partnerships where affection, attention, and deep connection are missing. But they convince themselves it's normal because there's no fighting or cheating. This is the silent suffering that gets overlooked because it doesn't make a scene. That reminds me of a couple I met like 20 years ago. You could tell he wasn't really interested in her. He was 10 years younger, and one day he finally told her that he didn't enjoy intimacy with her, and they decided to start sleeping in separate rooms. So they basically became roommates. And it didn't bother him because obviously he was getting some on the side, but he was still married. And she decided to just pretend that everything was fine. I feel like that happens to so many people, not just in relationships, but financially. It's like, well, I only make this amount of money, so I should be okay with living like this, living at the bottom, living off not enough money to say that you're living. You're just existing. When you make enough for bread and water and that's it, are you really alive? No. Just like if you're in a relationship and there's nothing there anymore, are you really alive? No. I think most of us have a tendency to just exist. I think that's why I like using the example of the NPC. We don't ever really communicate with other people. We kind of just exist. We like float by one another, acknowledge that that's another person like us, and then keep walking. It's like this the same way that when dogs see each other, right? Most dogs, as soon as they see another dog, they either want to go see what it is and bark at it. I think we human beings do the same thing. We look at other people. Like on the average day when I'm sitting home alone and I have nothing to do that day, like 99.9% of the days, the only other human being that I see is my next door neighbor. And so I'll be sitting here at my desk working, and I'll look over. She walks by, ironically enough, with her little dog to take him outside. And that's the only other human being that I see. That's it. That's your only human contact. I don't know her name. I don't know what she does for a living. I don't know anything about it. It's just an outline of another human being. And I think that's the epitome of what it is to be human, is to be ironically lonely your entire life. And it's a subject that very much so interested me in college. When I was studying abnormal psychology, loneliness was one of those things that we studied because it is a very, very common thing, regardless of your situation, whether you're family, friends, whatever. Even if you're the most popular person in the world, at the end of the day, if no one sees you, you feel lonely. It's like a default position to be in as a human being. And it's something that stems from our modern world. Human beings couldn't afford to be lonely in an ancestral environment. Lonely people didn't leave offspring. It became an evolutionary dead end. And so, for us human beings to evolve to the point where we don't need other human beings is detrimental to the entire species. There are literally millions upon tens of millions of people, not just in America, but across the world, especially South Korea, that are understanding that their lives are completely meaningless. The rates of not existing anymore in South Korea are abominable because people get to a certain point early on in their careers and realize there's no career. I don't have a career. I've never had a career. It's just been one meaningless job after another, from Kroger's to Walmart to Taco Bell to warehouse to back to Taco Bell and back to Walmart. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of meaning in these pointless relationships we have with Evil Corp, just like with the people that we meet. Because the great thing about being a pro is that we rise to our own level, right? If you're a pro man, chances are you're going to meet pro Susie Rottencrotch. You're not going to meet exotic people. If you're a bottom level, bottom eating human being like me, you just stay at the bottom. You meet other people that swim around you. And when you're in that sort of environment, you look at the person that's near you. Like I look at my neighbor and I'm like, no, not my type. Too heavy, too short, too blonde, and too many tattoos. That's not my cup of tea. Okay, let's get into their second talking point in the last couple of minutes here. People stay in emotionally dead relationships because they fear starting over more than they fear staying unhappy. Loneliness feels more acceptable when there's a warm body beside you. Even if you feel invisible to them, the fear of emotional abandonment keeps people clinging to connections that no longer nourish them. Okay, so sometimes you stop answering a person's text messages, right? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they're not replying to the text messages that you used to send. And you wonder, well, what happened? You know what happened? It's simple. They either met someone else or they find you boring. In which case, if you're no longer interested in that person, you're not going to answer the messages. But at the same time, like myself, you don't want to block their number because you don't want to hurt their feelings. But they keep trying and trying and trying because they don't want to feel emotional abandonment. It's one of the most dreadful things to come to the conclusion that someone no longer is interested in being around you or talking to you or acknowledging that you exist. Becoming invisible to another person right in front of their eyes is one of the most painful things you will experience in your life, especially if you still have feelings for that other person. Long girl number one has been going through this for a long time. Her significant other broke up with her, and they're still hooking up occasionally because she can't let go. She doesn't want to move on. She wants to be attached at whatever level she can, even though she knows that that relationship has been over a long time. And she's just not willing to admit it to herself that there's nothing that she can do in order to fix things. Once relationships end, whether you're in them or out of them, staying in them is the little death. Because you stay even though you know they don't want you anymore.